Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Hops Geek News, a podcast that talks about comic books, movies, TV shows, and we feature a beer of the week. I am Matt. With me is Lauren. And if you've stumbled upon this, hey, Hops Geek News on any podcasting platform, on any social media platform, come hang out with us, follow us, subscribe, share with a friend, all of that really good stuff. And if you want to support the show, patreon.com/hopsgeeknews. Everything that comes into it, we put right back into going to things like Comic Cons and making a better product for you, the listener, because we cared for our three listeners. So that said, if this is your first time, we roll into what we've messed up on the week prior. We talk about what we've been reading or watching. We go into some news, and then guess what, folks? Today we have Vanessa Marshall, aka the voice of the rebellion, if you will, Hera Syndulla. She is joining us to talk about Star Wars, to talk about her journey and love of Star Wars and all things voice acting. We will get to her here shortly. I will talk about what I'm drinking later on, as I'm sure Lauren will as well. So let's go into what did we mess up on last week?
I couldn't remember the name of the original late night host. It's Johnny Carson. That's it. I'm honestly surprised Tim didn't text me today because he was texting me and I was waiting for him to correct me there. So there's your Stanley cameo.
That's fair. That is fair. Tim's a staple. He always corrects us. Him and Sean like always are like, "Hey, you messed up on this. Hey, you messed up on that." So thanks guys for keeping us honest. We love when we get called out. So let's go
Call us
into
out.
what we've been reading or watching. I haven't read or anything. I haven't watched anything except for Guardians of the Galaxy, which we recorded a quick mini episode on. So go ahead and check that out. Lauren, did you watch or read anything special extra?
Just Guardians of the Galaxy, and I've been rewatching some Rebels. That's about
Freaking
it.
Guardians of
So
the Galaxy. I did watch a couple
only
episodes
he
of
didn't say
Supernatural.
frickin'.
Yeah,
Oh, which
I
ones?
did.
So you read
The
Dead Man? Oh,
two
you met
after,
Jody then.
the zombie, and then they go to heaven,
Yes.
all that
And then the
stuff. So
zombie, the I pay taxes. I'm a
yes,
taxpayer.
I'm
It's
a
like you're a
taxpayer. Like
zombie.
what?
I'm a taxpayer.
Yes,
Oh, and then
I have
Dark
gone
Side
into
of the
that.
Moon. Okay.
Yes.
Awesome.
So I
So
mean
we'll get to
that's
record
really
an
about
episode
it.
on that maybe next week.
Yes, yes. I am gonna have a lot of free time here soon because I'm gonna be on bed rest for this old knee surgery I'm getting there because I'm an old man. So
Fun
yeah, let's
times.
roll into some news. I don't really have much right now. I do have that Yellowstone is ending with season 5. However, they do have spin-off series in the works. I do know that I've never watched this show. So I don't feel any sort of way towards this. I'm going to be honest with you. Did
I
you watch
started
the
it.
show? You did?
Jay recommended it and we started it, but like the first episode's like movie length. It was good, but we didn't get sucked in. I could see picking it back up one day, but
Yeah,
as a grand,
I
but Jeremy, Jay who runs Hops News loves it.
that's true. He was really big into it. That's who I thought of as well. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh man, guess what? He's going to be pretty sad about this one." But I've never honestly watched it myself. I will say that the writer strike is still going on. Christopher Nolan has joined the picket line. Our friend Daniel Kibblesmith is out there, and Stranger Things season 5 has gone on hold because of the writer strike. Which you know what? Good. I hope these heavy hitting shows that are going on strike, these writer they maybe wake up these companies because Disney's still expecting production to go for some folks. And there's people out there that are like, oh, the writers are being, greedy. I'm like, no, they're not. They don't get paid enough. They don't get the recognition. So I'll hold out for as long as it takes to get these writers the proper recognition and the
Right.
proper
Just keep
compensation.
watching Star Wars, MCU, and Supernatural
Exactly.
till
We're
everything
not
comes
short of
back.
things to watch. Something else
Yeah.
I have Tom Hiddleston and Mark Hamill have been cast in an adaptation of Stephen King's The Life of Chuck. Mike Flanagan is
Ooh.
set to direct. The story follows the biography of Charles Krantz in reverse, so beginning with his death and ending with his childhood. I wonder if that means Mark Hamill is going to be him on his deathbed, and Tom Hiddleston plays the majority. Is kind of what I'm thinking.
Hmm.
We'll see. And
We need more stuff with Mark Hamill.
we
He's
do.
amazing.
Seriously, Carrie Fisher just got her star finally on the Walk of Fame. I know we covered that and talked about it, but it's about damn time. Again, it's about damn time.
Yeah. I really think she's making jokes in heaven about the fact she didn't get one until she was dead.
Yes, yes. And my last little bit of news right now. The Super Mario Brothers movie has become one of the top 5 highest grossing animated films of all time. It has reached $1.1
Wow.
billion dollars.
What's it behind?
Insane.
Frozen.
I I'm not totally sure what it's behind. I'd have to let's see if it says in this
Here, I'll do
article.
it. That's
I would
crazy. I still need to
imagine
see it, but like Logan's not going to sit still. So,
it comes out on digital next week.
oh,
So
okay.
yes, you'll be able to get to watch it. It doesn't say in the article, but yeah, this
There we go. Oh,
movie's
I got it. Number 10's Lion King,
ooh,
then Zootopia, and then there you go. Lion King, Zootopia, Finding Dory,
okay.
Despicable Me 3,
Wow, really?
Toy Story 3 is number 6, Toy Story 4 is number 5, Minions number 4, Incredibles
People
2
love the
number
Minions,
3,
man.
then Frozen, and then Frozen 2. Oh wow, Frozen 2 beat Frozen 1. And then I'm guessing this list is outdated
It's
and
definitely outdated now
Mario
that
but
Mario's in it, but
so
that's
Lion King's not on the
insane.
top 10 anymore. Oh, that makes me sad.
That is crazy. Well, just wait till they re-release it and I'm sure
Well,
they'll
they
do that
had
here soon.
re-released it in IMAX. Oh god, I was 19 or
Yeah, see,
when I
they'll do
saw
it
it in the
again.
theater in IMAX.
Inflation,
I was pregnant with
baby.
Kaylee. Wow. Lion King can't
Absolutely
get
insane.
bumped.
Absolutely insane that this movie has the legs that it
I mean,
does.
I've
And it
heard
comes
nothing
out
but
on
good things.
digital here next week, May 16th, I believe. So definitely catch it. It is worth every second, every penny, every ounce of laughter. I loved it a lot.
And Quantumania should be out on Disney Plus next week because I know a lot of
Yes,
people
May
are like,
12th
we're waiting for that. And then they're like, I haven't even seen that. I'm not going to go
or
see
is it
Guardians.
19th? May
I think it was
19th or
the
May 12th. I'll have
17th.
to guess what? I'll figure it out. But do you have any pieces of news?
No, because
All
I feel like we
right.
just recorded.
We did. So let's go into some quick Rebels facts, fun facts, because we're going to be talking about Vanessa Marshall in just a moment. And the show begins 14 years after Star Wars Episode 3. This would also be after Solo and the Kenobi TV show. Taylor Gray is Ezra Bridger, and Vanessa Marshall is Hera Syndulla, which she plays a Twi'lek pilot turned rebel commander, later general, and she's the daughter of Ryloth freedom fighter Cam Syndulla from the Clone Wars. Freddie Prinze Jr. obviously is Kanan Jarrus. Tia Sikar is Sabine Wren. Stephen Blum is Zeb. And Dave Filoni
Which
is Chopper.
Zeb you met in The Mandalorian this past season.
Yes,
This is kind of just to let
did.
everyone out there who's not really watching the cartoons because they just don't want to. You should, Tim, you should.
This show
But
literally starts the rebellion against the
yes,
Empire. Gosh dang it.
and the main droid in this makes a small cameo in Rogue One. And we will go into more detail. We've said this before Ahsoka comes out, but this is just kind of give you an idea of who these
Yeah,
people are before you hear our interview with her.
exactly. So the concept of the show is what Filoni and Henry Gilroy originally planned for the Clone Wars in 2008 when they assumed Kenobi and Anakin would not be the main characters. Their idea was to actually focus on a crew of Millennium Falcon style smuggling ship consisting of a Twi'lek Jedi called Sendok and his Togruta apprentice Ashla, a Han Solo like smuggler called Cad, his girlfriend Lupe, and their Gungan strongman Lunker. I would have paid a lot of money to see their Gungan strongman. Like personally, give me more Gungans in the Star Wars universe. Then the Jedi and his Padawan became Kanan Jarrus and Ezra Bridger. The smuggler pilot became Hera Syndulla, and the other female characters became Mandalorian Sabine Wren, and the strongman became Zeb. Zeb
So,
is what is Zeb?
Zeb is a conundrum. Zeb is a Lasat, and his design was actually based on an early drawing of Chewie. And what's kind of really cool about that is in the very first episode of Rebels, they do the Wookiee trick where they're like, we're bringing in a Wookiee. And they're like, that's not a Wookiee. And they're like, haven't you ever seen a hairless Wookiee? So I got to imagine that was an intentional nod to the original concept
Yes.
of the Wookiees. So, although the planet Kessel was first mentioned in 1977 in episode 4, its first canon appearance was in the TV movie Star Wars Rebels, which the TV movie is the first episode of the series. And James Earl Jones came back for this. You got Frank Oz for Yoda, you got Anthony Daniels for C3PO, and even Billy D. Williams came back as the voice of Lando. So these
Yes.
are big heavy hitters. Should I ruin the end of Rebels or should I just
No,
not yet
well,
to leave?
don't leave it because I
Okay.
want people to watch this. I hope people who listen to this
Okay.
upcoming portion it inspires you to go watch Rebels if you haven't yet. It is a phenomenal TV series, and of course, Vanessa Marshall has voiced characters that you have heard her in the Flashpoint Paradox as Wonder Woman. You've heard her as Black Canary. You've heard her as Wonder Woman again in the Harley Quinn TV series. She has voiced some of the best characters. She's been the voice of a lot of commercials, a lot of video game characters that you probably didn't even realize was her until now. So I hope you take a second, listen to this, go give her a follow. We're going to get to the really good stuff in just a second. So we will return with Star Wars month rolling on with Vanessa Marshall. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back. Like I said, we are going to be talking some more Star Wars month with none other than probably the most, you've heard her voice everywhere at this point. I mean, if you go back to the early days of the PlayStation 2 playing video games, I know I have way back then some of my favorite Star Wars video games, some of my favorite television period. Vanessa Marshall will be joining us in just a moment. But first, we got to talk about the beer of the week. And mine is from a brewery called Weldworks Brewing out of Colorado, and it's called Juicy Bits. It's a 6.7% IPA, Citra, Mosaic, Eldorado hops. I chose this because we're probably gonna get some good juicy bits of information here today, and this is, I guess,
Oh, that was cute.
wicked
Very
excited
clever.
for. Yes, I was actually at a get together, like a party at some like themed party, and when Lauren sent me the screenshot of the email, I was kind of geeking out on my own, and everybody's like, "What is wrong with this man?" I was like, "Don't worry about it."
Oh, I
And
started yelling at my husband. It's the green girl from my purse.
because he doesn't know better. Yes.
No, he doesn't watch Star Wars.
But Lauren, why don't you go ahead and tell us what you're drinking? Then we're gonna roll into the good stuff. Nobody wants to hear us.
So I'm drinking a Double New England from Ellipsis Brewing, and it is a collab with IP Atticus. And I grabbed this one because I didn't have anything specific to Star Wars, but I think that this looks exactly like a porg if a porg was made out of beer hops.
Ooh.
So,
That's exactly what that looks like.
and I'm wondering if it is. I looked on their Instagram because they did do a May the 4th beer can special, but it was all Spaceballs. So I don't know if they just didn't post on the socials and it was, but I have it in my Wonder Woman glass because we're going to be talking to Wonder Woman herself. So this is delicious. I love Ellipsis. They make great sours, they make great IPAs, and they're right by the airport. So if anybody's got a long layover in Orlando, go to Ellipsis Brewing.
Let's go.
That's the one place we didn't hit up when I was there. But guess what? I'll be back on the East Coast, and we're already talking about Disney plans, so we'll get to that. However, that wonderful voice you hear in the background, she has voiced lots of characters: Wonder Woman, Black Canary. She's voiced Gamora and even Mary Jane. And then, of course, she started the Rebel Alliance as Hera Syndulla herself. Vanessa Marshall, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming to hang out with us.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, it's we were talking to her, Yoda. We might hear Yoda here or there in the background because
This
she's
guy
just got everybody here. So
right there.
absolutely. He is.
Yes.
Thanks for coming. And it's exciting. First things before we dive in though, is you also were the voice for a lot of the Metal Gear Solid games, which I was telling Lauren because she was like, I don't play video games. And I was like, oh my God, are you kidding me? I grew up like those.
I mean, I was really good at Tetris on the Game Boy. That's the extent of my video gaming.
That is one of the video games I grew up playing. So I was like, oh man. So as soon as you told us that you're going to be at a Metal Gear Solid Comic-Con, which I had no idea was a thing until you mentioned it.
Yes.
That was amazing. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, actually, it is happening. You can check it out at mgscon.com. It is July 15th at the Hilton near the Los Angeles airport. It's a Metal Gear fan convention. And so far, I'm going to be hosting a bunch of stuff. I've just started to get on Twitch and play video games, so I'll be live streaming and playing. But Lori Allen is joining us. Paul Eiding is joining us, and Greg Eagles. And I think there are many more actors who are joining, but we haven't announced it yet. There's panels, cosplay, art, music, signings, games, and it's happening all day. I think they're doing a podcast, and there's a band that's playing that does all Metal Gear music. I mean, if you're a Metal Gear fan, please come join us. If you can't be there in person, you can join virtually. If you go to the website, you can get tickets there for either in person or online. Nice. And what's really cool about it is we're going to be raising money for the Wounded Warrior Project. And they have a collection of fan art that will be signed by all the actors who are present. And that will be auctioned off. The proceeds from that will go to the Wounded Warrior Project. And since the game sort of has a military theme to it, if you will. We wanted to give back in a way. And the woman who created this event, her name is Amanda Bryan. She's hoping for this to repeat itself. So if the event is a huge success, we hope to take it to New York, to San Diego, to Dallas, to all over the place, and perhaps repeat it for different fandoms as well. My voiceover agency, CESD Talent here in Los Angeles, reps all sorts of actors from Fortnite, Overwatch, even Street Fighter. I mean, depending on how deep into the deep cut esports you want to go. But anyway, we're on a magic sleigh ride, and this is the first event. And Amanda's really been amazing. She's working with my voiceover agency to put it all together, and it's just been a joy and an honor to be a part of. And it's for a good cause, so it's pretty cool. Yeah.
Well, and if anybody's like me, if you're wanting to buy it anyways and it's for a good cause, you're more likely to buy it. So it's, I think, a win-win.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, it's not all the proceeds are going to them, just to be clear, so that people aren't confused. I'm not sure what portion will be donated. I think she has to cover her own expenses, because really this was it was a labor of love. And in fact, she did a Kickstarter, and it was crowdfunded to begin with.
Wow.
That's how many Metal Gear fans there are. So it's just cool to see a lot of really sweet people come together and do something fun, especially after being in sort of the isolation and darkness of the pandemic. I mean, I know for myself, I'm committed to creating fun and giving back. And if those two things can, exist at the same time, at the same event, over and over again, I'm 100% there.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I have a hard time believing it wouldn't be. I mean, Los Angeles, and then a giant, like, specific, because I know there's everyone you kind of talk to, you bring up things like, hey, what was your favorite game from back then? Like, oh, Metal Gear, or they often talk about things like that. So I have a hard time believing this isn't something that would take off. And
there's a huge fan community in Bristol over in the UK. They had a Metal Gear event over there. So we were in our wildest dreams, we were talking like, hey, what if this went to London and this and that? So we were like, wait, let's just, start
one con at a time.
Second, let's just do it right here.
Yeah. Well, to the extent that people can join virtually, it is kind of a worldwide thing. But for now, Amanda's, really just been handling it, and it's just incredible. So
virtual is one of those things too. Like everybody, like you mentioned, coming out of the pandemic, it kind of gives a way for people who are missing out to also not miss out at the same time. Like, oh, I wish I was there. Well, guess what? You can be.
Right.
Yeah. So, and to that extent, I know a portion of that will go to the good cause. So you can feel good about that.
Right.
You can do it virtually. Yeah.
Well, in
we have some surprise appearances. So if you're a huge Metal Gear fan, you might
definitely need to go.
Get your mind blown. Yeah.
Now, you mentioned you've been streaming on Twitch lately. What games have you been playing?
Well, so far, just Street Fighter. Nice. I play Caretaker in Midnight Suns.
Oh yeah.
And I tried to play that, and I was so terrible. And the Marvel games, they were so great. They sent me like a pass to play the game, and oh my gosh, I was so overwhelmed. I was like, wait, what is happening? There are all these like highway scenes, and so I'm rewiring everything, and I'm going to relaunch my Twitch because we had a lot of technical difficulties. And so I'm streamlining it. And then this is my plan, is to play every game I'm in. So what does that look like? Start with Caretaker.
But I say that's a lot of games.
Yeah, no, I know, but I want to play Black Canary in Injustice 2. Yes. I want to play Shiva in Mortal Kombat. I'd love to do the Hera in the Squadrons video game. Just go down the line. There's a bunch of really random ones. And of course, Olga and all that down the line. But I think I play Kerrigan in Heroes of the Storm. And there are a bunch of like really fun games. And then also just hanging out. I've met a bunch of people on Twitch, and it'll be fun to play Street Fighter with them. And other silly games. Like I went down to DreamHack San Diego this past, gosh, when was it? I think it was Easter weekend. We were down there. DreamHack is sort of like the Super Bowl of esports, and they had these brackets, and all these kids were playing. It was really quite remarkable. Like it felt like a soccer match, but they were all playing video games. But they had me compete in a gauntlet where I was blindfolded playing Tekken, and this dude behind me was telling me which buttons to mash to beat the guy sitting next to me, and it was crazy.
That sounds
but so much
amazing.
fun, so much fun. But I think we're going to take that premise to the next level at the Metal Gear event, where you can play Olga and Olga will berate you the entire time. Or, if you
Oh
play
my gosh, that's
the boss, then Dr. Strangelove will give you a hard time while you're trying to beat the boss, because she'll be there, Lori Allen. And of course, many of the actors have never even touched a console, so that'll make it even more hilarious, I think.
That's the fun right there. Like you're just playing a game that you love, and all of a sudden the
I mean, they're
voice
just
is
gonna mash.
behind you, like
Yeah.
talking shit and behind your ear,
Yeah.
and you're just like,
Yeah. Or if I mean, we'll all be signing autographs there, and if you want a recording of Olga wishing you happy birthday, or I don't know, it would just silly stuff like that. Well,
that's amazing. The silly stuff is what makes it fun, and then it's also like it's so great to see, the personalization behind things and how much you guys care
definitely.
and give back to fans of every single IP and genre that spans so many different things.
Yeah, there's a lot of room for growth. So I'm looking forward to discovering what this wants to be. Really, if it's meant to be, I'll be thrilled. And if it doesn't quite pan out, I mean, the world is in such a strange place at the moment with the writer's strike and whatever the heck else is going on. But I'm determined. I've been trying to. Here's the thing. In the world of Comic-Cons, let's say comic books, voice actors, they play a huge part in animated shows, and therefore they're somewhat of a foregone conclusion at these events. But what I don't understand is why video game actors are not present at some of the esports events, and why there aren't fan experiences geared specifically, because it's a very different demographic. I have found the Twitch community to be I mean, I know anytime you go into a virtual community online, you never know what the heck you're going to find. And there can be some strange bots and whatever the heck. But for the most part, it's a bunch of really loving people who are just being silly online. And after spending so much time in the very dour, dark time of the pandemic, to discover the world of Twitch on the heels of that and just be like, oh my God, there's this whole other world, and voiceover actors could so much make it a more magical experience for fans at events like DreamHack. They have events all over the world. There's DreamHack Dallas coming up. There's one in Atlanta in December. But in the meantime, there was one in Melbourne, and there's one in Japan also. They have them in Sweden, I believe. I just think it's such a cool idea. The San Diego one was the first one that they included voiceover actors, and the attendance broke records. There were 41,000 people there. Yeah. And I mean, I do wonder if the VA, the voice actors, if they had anything to do with, drawing the fans there to get autographs of their favorite people. Anjali Bhamani was there, Jason Spizak, there were all kinds of really cool voiceover actors for the kids to kind of interact with and have a personal experience with. And so anyway, I'm trying to ignite that somehow. So
we'll see how it goes. Movement. Yeah, because everything's got to start from somewhere. And you're right. Like when you go to Comic-Cons and stuff, you don't really see a lot of gaming voice actors. So
not really.
When you look at, there's like, they advertise esports on ESPN of all things. They sell out football stadiums. It's a really, it's like a thing now. Even
it is.
Colleges have esports. You can get a scholarship to play video games at college. I'm like, where was this when I was in high school?
I didn't know that.
Literally, absolutely.
Right?
So it is something that's like, is a kind of a missing market. Just to see someone like yourself to be like, why aren't we doing this? And kind of jump starting that movement. It's really wholesome and refreshing.
Yeah, I did see some of them at MegaCon starting to show up this year, which I didn't notice in the past.
Oh, cool. Well, good. I'm glad. Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But, in the meantime, it's fun to learn and discover.
Well, and I think also cons in general are becoming so popular and like I deal with this personally. I'm sure we all do. You know, you find this, you fall in love with something like Star Wars, and then you fall down that rabbit hole and you know all the details of it, but your
Yeah.
circle of friends doesn't. So when you go to these cons,
Yeah.
you get that sense of camaraderie that you really don't get anywhere else. So
No.
I think that makes it very special. And I'm loving that people who were not into cons before are like, I'm going to the 90s con to go meet Topanga. And I'm like,
Yes.
what? That's a thing? That's awesome.
Oh my gosh, that's
So
so
that's,
cool.
yeah,
I
it's cool
love
to see
it.
all of it branch out
I'm
and
just
whatnot.
glad Lauren's finally into Star Wars. It took me 2 years. She got into it. We're here. But
Awesome.
it's amazing. But we do have a question that we'd like to ask everybody that joins our show.
Mhm.
What is your geek origin story? How did you get immersed into this culture? What drew you to it?
Well, I saw the first Star Wars movie. My aunt took me. I was in Boulder, Colorado.
Ooh.
My parents kind of dropped me off there. My parents met at Boulder High School and have been together ever since like 11th grade. And so the rest of the family still remains in Colorado, or Rado, Colorado, as they say. I don't know, Colorado. But my aunt took us one afternoon, and I really feel like that day changed my life, not only in terms of just exploding what is possible in terms of storytelling, just because I had never seen such a specific, vast new world, but also Carrie Fisher as a female role model, an icon for me to look up to. I was like, please, she
She's
is so
badass.
awesome. Yeah. Get this walking carpet out of my way. I was like, that's what I want. So I just, I was trying to put my hair in the Princess Leia buns, and I was all about it. On that sort of, feminist level, I guess it also kind of woke me up, but it made me realize that there's a moment that happens in many people's lives where you're given a choice. And it's, of course, now I know, much older, the Joseph Campbell's, The Hero's Journey, where, you sort of rise to the occasion. But, we have that moment where we can hard pass and stay home and stay safe and stay quiet and do nothing. Or we can risk everything and do the right thing and change the world. And oh my gosh, I was like, that's what I want to be a part of, people who understand that and care enough to find a chosen family and make the world better. And, that blew up for me that afternoon in the movie theater for whatever reason. And I've got like my little action figures here and whatever else, but I was an only child, and I found friendship and faith in these stories. And it fed my soul. And basically from that point forward, everything was like, well, how is that like Luke? Or if I'm in the shopping line and a guy has this, that, and the other thing, and he looks really mean, I'm like, yeah, but Darth Vader also looked really mean. I mean, he had abandonment issues. You can't judge.
Just a few issues.
Every little thing becomes like a Star Wars lesson everywhere, So
it is funny that you say this, because last week was May the 4th, and I have a 4-year-old daughter, and my kids are pretty immersed into like, the Marvel, all that kind of stuff. But we did her hair like Rey, and ever since that moment, she has been, any chance she has her iPad, she puts on Star Wars. And then of course it's the Princess Leia, and she's like, she puts herself in the shoes. She's like, is my dad in Star Wars? Who is he? And I'm like, that's Emperor Palpatine. And then she's like, is that Darth Vader's master? And just everything like ties back. And so it's funny that you mentioned that, because I'm seeing that currently happen in my daughter, and I'm just eating it up, and it is amazing.
It's the coolest. Yeah. So anywho, I mean, my dad and I went to football games, so it didn't really allow me to bond with my father, because it sort of was happening in real time then. And my dad was a news reporter and kind of wasn't into the whole sci-fi genre, but I definitely was and still am. And it sort of just gave me a context for understanding the rest of the world.
So what was that like for you, getting cast as a Star Wars character, even though it's animated? When you were given the role, did you know that it was going to be canon to the movies?
Not at all. No.
So how did that feel then when you got the role, and how did that feel when you heard your name in Rogue One, and then you realized like, this is legit canon?
I had a heart attack. I legit freaked out. And yeah, my voiceover agent asked if I needed a paramedic because I was like sobbing, crying, screaming. What? Thank you. Oh my God, thank you. I mean, I was like losing it hard and ugly crying the whole nine. Like,
You started the rebellion. It's canon that you are the
dude,
reason the rebellion started. And going back to your story, something big, like how does what can you even put into words at this point what that means? Because I can't even begin to imagine.
it's the most meta, bizarre feeling. I just getting to meet some of the actors at at the Star Wars celebrations and Star Wars weekends was also mind-boggling. There have been so many times that my brain has exploded and my heart has cracked open even more. Like when I don't think I could have more of an open heart, it's just like when I met Peter Mayhew at the Star Wars weekends in Orlando, and it was his birthday, and there was a huge Millennium Falcon cake, and he walked to blow out the candles, and the gentleman who plays Jar Jar Binks, Ahmed Best, he gave me Mickey Mouse ears, and I was just like, what is happening right now? I really wept just because I mean, look, post college years when one is sorting out taxes and adulting and all of that, it can get really inconvenient.
It's hard. It is confusing sometimes.
Adulting is not my fave, but and resisting it made it worse and worse. But I think what all of this taught me was that, people say don't quit before the miracle. And I'd say, but I can't, like, I just can't adult. And not like a kid in a yarn store with their mom, like, when I was watching Peter Mayhew blow out candles on a Millennium Falcon cake, it occurred to me, this is why you don't give up, because you never know where your life can take you. And you just don't know what can happen next, because clearly anything can happen. And I'm living proof of that like, don't give up. Like if anyone is having a dark time, I promise you, if you can just hold on, you have no idea how wonderful life can be. It passes, it does change. Adulting becomes secondhand. We get over these things, we walk through them, we find chosen family, as I just said, and we get through it together. And what's on the other side of it is sublime. It can be. So I realize a lot of what has occurred in my life is born out of privilege. And, I am so lucky to get to do these things. The happy accident of a voiceover agent seeing me do a one-woman show and recommending that I try my hand at animation. And that was back in 1997. And, one thing led to another. And here I am doing this podcast. That's a happy accident. That doesn't befall everyone. I am grateful, and I know how blessed I've been to have enjoyed that. But I also think that it's worth it to believe that miracles are possible and that amazing things can happen in one's life. Because I definitely, despite that privilege, I didn't even think that was the case. And it truly is. It's worth it to hang in there. Yeah, that's also another thing that I care very much about is, supporting people through those dark times, because it can seem, especially again, once again, with the pandemic, I know that a lot of people felt very isolated and alone. And so that's another reason why I want to create these events. And I do plan on benefiting other charities that are, resources for people who are suffering from depression and stuff like that. Just because it's important to give back. I'm grateful that I survived whatever that patch was, and coming out the other side of it, I almost feel like to keep it, I want to give away that joy or give it back. And so that's kind of part of it too. But who would have thought? I mean, dude, seriously. I thought when I got Mary Jane in Spectacular Spider-Man, I was like, this is as good as my life gets. I mean, this is bananas. And then this happened. It was like, oh my God. Yeah. And then to be able to play Rook Cast, the Mandalorian
Yes.
in the Clone Wars, I was like, okay, I can die now. Like, the circle is complete. I'm a huge Mandalorian fan. So, I mean, Mandalorian in general, not just
the show. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
So I've seen Ashley Eckstein a couple times because she lives in Orlando, and one of the things she said about Clone Wars was that before they record each episode, Filoni gives everybody the background of the story. Did he do that for Rebels as well?
Yes, he did. And I'm looking at the hockey shirt there, and it reminds me of sort of a huddle before a game, like, the away team does this, and historically that, and the significance of this game is this, and if we win, we get this. And he sort of would huddle us to start, and then we would break and record. And so it felt very athletic to me.
What was the point? So obviously you kind of go in there, you think it's because there are a lot of people when they think Rebels, like, oh, it's a kid's show. I'm like, well, no, it's definitely not. Like, there is so much more to it. At what point did you go from, oh, we're doing this show, to it clicked that, hey, this is something really big happening here?
Well, from the moment we walked in, we didn't know what it was, but we all knew it was something big here. I mean, I think, well, we were shouldering somewhat of a huge responsibility in that Disney had just bought the franchise, and lots of people were making jokes like, oh, Donald Duck with a lightsaber, like, that somehow this was going to sully the reputation of anything Star Wars. And so they were careful to choose individuals who have a reverence for the franchise so that we would do everything in our power to lift it up as best we could, and sort of step up to that task and be willing to serve the true fans. And Freddie's like bionic fan. Tia was somewhat, Taylor had no idea about any of it. He's like a fetus. He was so young at the time, and not a fetus, but but he, comparatively speaking, he just hadn't been exposed to it, which was perfect because he was ignorant in the ways of the Force and this and that. So Freddie was able to teach him everything about Star Wars. So it really mirrored their
fiction copied reality. Awesome.
Man, wow.
Yeah. And that was beautiful. Yeah.
So speaking of Freddie, then what was that table read like for that episode? Did you have any idea beforehand, or was it like you got the scripts, you read it, and you get to that point and you're just like, wait, what?
Well, I'm trying to remember exactly, but there was no table read. Because that moment happens sort of in an animated fashion. It's not like he says, I mean, I remember he huddled us up and he was like, and Freddie wasn't there. And he was like, guys, just need to let you know, Freddie's character is going to die. And we were like, wait, what? What? What?
Yeah, because at this point it'd been
and
years
like
together.
Freddie had already recorded it, and we were like, what the heck? And sometimes pages were missing from the script, and we were handed them when we got there. And I think this might have been one of those times. I don't recall exactly, but I know Freddie was already done. And so that was like a pretty grim huddle.
Freddie was like, Irish goodbye. This happened. Sorry, guys. And it was just like he had to sit
on
that.
Well, but the beautiful thing he said, I'm doing this in the middle of the season because I want to show fans that hard things happen in life and we get through them together.
Absolutely.
He said we could have done this at the end of the season, but we decided to do it in the middle to show that it's okay to grieve, that it's okay to suffer loss and be supported by your chosen family. And so I thought that was a really noble way to accomplish that. Yeah, we didn't do a table read. We just sort of went into recording. It was pretty surreal.
Yeah.
Was it like, I like how you chose your chosen family, because that's something that like means a lot to me, because I never really had a family growing up. So when you say your chosen family, that's something to me then it circles back to, hey, you go through hard things in life and you come out on the other side, like stick through it. You got to stick through it. And that's what they did. And that is probably
Mhm.
one of my favorite Star Wars moments. It's in my top 5, and
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah,
how
mine
that
too.
whole season goes through after that. You're
Yeah.
right. Like doing it at that
Yeah.
moment, it was the right moment. And so
Yeah.
it's you guys built your family and chosen family. So to kind of lose that, I imagine it probably felt like losing an actual family member in real life.
Yeah, it was pretty awful. But then we were like, yeah, we heard that Freddie was campaigning for Darth Vader to kill him, and Dave was like,
He was like, chill out,
oh,
man.
we were like, wait, bro, he wanted to die? What the heck? Like he was gonna, we were like, thanks, Freddie. What the hell?
Every
You
day
know,
he
like
Well,
walks
he
in
might
like,
regret it
Dave,
after
kill
that
me.
Ahsoka trailer. Yeah.
yeah,
At least we
I
got
don't
to hear
know.
him at the end of Rise of Skywalker. That was pretty cool that they included his
Oh yeah.
voiceover for that.
Yeah.
So when you guys recorded episodes, were you generally in the same room together, or was it common
Yes.
that you recorded separate? Okay, so you were able to
No,
actually see each other and feed off of each other.
totally. Yeah. So some of those scenes with the Inquisitor bothering us, or
Bothering us.
or
I like that
whatever,
description.
yeah. Or when Darth Maul was trying to corrupt Ezra, or some of these things, like when Thrawn was not in Los Angeles, so those were recorded wild. But yeah, a lot of the time we were together and able to act off of each other, which was really cool
Oh
to
yeah. And
create like an ensemble feeling,
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, because it's what voice actors do. You guys don't get enough credit for the things that you do, the way that you're able
Aw.
to emote,
Yeah.
because it's not like you're, in-person acting, you're able to emote with your face and things, but you have to
Yeah.
convey these
Well,
emotions through
yeah,
animation.
that's what's so interesting to me about the video game stuff, is that we're often by ourselves for the taping of those. And
Mm.
I've seen some of the Jedi Council things, like the Knights of the Republic and stuff like that, where I think I played Bella Quix or something. She's a Torgruda Jedi. And there's this whole Jedi Council, and I don't know, I wasn't there with Jennifer Hale, but the way it's cut together, it's like seamless, and it really it's really works.
Right.
So it can go either way, but I find it so much more rewarding to interact with people in the moment as a group.
Is there
So
one that's kind of easier than others? Is it like sometimes, oh, this is refreshing, I get to record this video game kind of by myself, I can get into my element, or is it like this is even
um
harder at this point?
well, some of the, like the World of Warcraft or Diablo, some of those games where I'm a race, a kind of race, and they're getting a bunch of different actors to play. There's sort of these stock lines of like a combat line or a this line, and they're sort of bric-a-brac putting those together with what the player is doing. Some of those are just easier to rattle off, 3 in a row of each line, 3 in a row, 3 in a row. Those are easier to just rock through on my
Right.
own. But I always prefer to see people. I've been doing a couple of gigs recently where I was finally able to go back in the studio, and it was so lovely.
Mm.
A Netflix show, and I think another Adult Swim. I don't think I'm allowed to say what they are, but it was great to go back into the studio.
So you brought up the pandemic then. Were you kind of forced to like record these from your, because I've seen a
Yeah.
lot of like instances where people like they send like the studio to your house and you're like, oh, so that those moments then, was it kind of like was it difficult, and was it easier to like
No,
find
I've
yourself
I've
slipping?
actually I've been recording in my house since 2003.
Oh, right on.
I've had a studio here for a while. I work doing promos for CBS, for Big Brother. I have radio stations all over the world, like 12 different rock stations in Canada. They email me their copy. I love working for them. Sonic 102.9, Shay 106. Like I've been doing promos and radio liners and narration, like for X Games or
Oh yeah.
Special Olympics, a bunch of stuff for
Nice.
ESPN. But I've been working from home for a long time, so for me it was just losing the variant of going out. Variant, sorry to use that word.
No, yeah. I
So
mean, you're right. There's like that social aspect. I mean,
yeah,
all
so
love
it
to
was,
work from home, but being social is like,
oh
it's what
yeah,
we need
it's
as
it's
human beings.
yeah. And when I did Guardians of the Galaxy, gosh, when was that? It was around the same time as when I was doing the Star Wars stuff. Man, we would have a party every time we got together. I would order us food, and we would hang out and just make it so much fun. It's so much fun to work hard and play hard, and those things in balance. And I guess you could do that on your own too, but I don't know, it gets to be a little much. Like in the pandemic, I was downstairs, my voiceover studio is downstairs, and I would just be down there for hours and hours. And it
drained
just,
you.
well, yeah, I started walking. I mean, we didn't know if seeing people outside. I remember my neighbor got COVID or his son got it. And then he was in his car with his window down, and I was out walking without a mask. And he said hello to me. And I remember at that point in the pandemic, I was like, did I just get COVID?
Right. We didn't know anything. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Like
No,
anytime you
you
do
know,
something or
cleaning
you
our
walk out without your
groceries.
mask, you're like,
Yeah.
oh God.
Yeah, like I didn't know that it has to be 8 to 12 minutes of like, hello, like right, like that. And we were outdoors, but I came inside, I was like,
Yeah.
It was such a nightmare, man.
It was a nightmare. I don't ever want to Clorox wipe another grocery bag.
No,
That
I
was
mean, what else did we get by eating bleach? Yuck. I don't know. Anyway,
We got clean immune systems.
You mentioned you were doing Hera and Gamora around the same time. Did you ever have a difficult time switching from one character to another, or did you feel like you just had to get there?
Hera speaks from her heart, and Gamora speaks more from her, like a lower place in her solar plexus. She is more of a sort of grounded. Her timbre is a little bit darker and more forceful. So, no, it was pretty easy. I do know at one point the Disney was like, wait a minute, we hired her for 2 green people and they're both in state. Hold on. And, the casting director said, can you just make sure that Gamora is a lot lower? And so I was definitely trying to pitch her down, and make her resonate more down here. So that Trevor Duvall, who played Rocket, if I wasn't there, he would read my lines for me. He would always read them like this. I was like, bro, I do not sound like that. Like, well, you kind of do. I was like, dude.
You're like, oh God, I've been typecast as a green.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess just, because Hera is definitely strong and just as powerful, but I think she doesn't need to do all that. She's got it.
She has a very calming voice. She's also, I feel like, the mom on the ship.
Yeah, I mean, Gamora to me is kind of a broken teenager per se, given that her injury in her life occurred when Thanos kind of destroyed her life. Her injury occurred much younger. Hera was inspired by her father. And of course, she took sort of a different path. He was more concerned about Ryloth. She wanted to sort of take it global. And she has more of a magnanimous spirit, less of an injury, less resentment. And Gamora is fueled by rage. And of course, she did some horrible things and is trying to make it right in joining, what do they call it? A group of a-holes, or what do they call
it? The Ravagers.
Yeah. I mean, just when the Guardians of the Galaxy, I know now she doesn't know who the heck they are or whatever, because she's lost her memory in the current film. But back when she joined the Guardians, there was a bit of seeking redemption going on for her.
And she definitely had some apprehension too of joining this family from all the things that she has done.
Yeah.
Right. Again, that was a chosen family too.
Yeah, another motley crew.
Theme of tonight, sponsored by Fast and Furious 10, because we're talking about family.
Oh no!
Coincidentally, my favorite movies. No,
there it is. That's funny.
So, do you have like a favorite moment from any of your characters, whether it's Wonder Woman, Hera, or do you have one that's just like, man, this is like my all-time favorite, or you can even do like your favorite Hera moment, period, since it is Star Wars month.
Well, I think when she's talking about what flight means to her, when she flies the B-Wing, that to me was such an emotional scene. My father is a pilot, and he was a news reporter for KNBC for a long time. And when he retired, I dared him to go get a pilot's license. I didn't think he would
Nice.
actually go
He was
do
like,
it. He
say
did.
less.
Yes. And it's like, he's like done. He was in the Air Force also, but he
Nice.
was never sort of on the tarmac in the Air Force. He was, he did all the news. He was a journalist. So he did the
right on.
radio at the Air Force bases. He was the radio guy.
Yeah.
And but he got an open cockpit biplane and has this hangar at the airport, and he hangs out with all his Air Force friends, and it's just so cool to see that group of guys. Now, I mean, their sense of humor is pretty rowdy. I like it myself, but there's also a very mannered, conscientious, and you have to, because the consequences of making an error are pretty extreme. But there is a I mean, I think of what is that Jonathan Livingston Seagull book that's sort of all about flight as a metaphor, like getting perspective from up above. She says similar things in her speech about flight. And I know Dave Filoni, I think his uncle owned a boat, and he was remembering how his uncle used to talk about boating and why it meant so much to him. But I dedicated that speech to my father, and for his love of flight. And so that was kind of a meta moment for me, in that I was honoring my father. And when I sent it to him, he was like, "Oh, pal." Pal. So that was a very tender moment. And I used to go up and fly with him, have to wear, initially I didn't have to wear the parachute in the open cockpit biplane. But for some reason, when he said, "No, you need to wear this," I was like, the reality of certain doom is like kind of a little too prevalent for me. And really the parachute would save my life. You just pull the cord. But even having it on, I was like, this is not wise. And I guess it's like going on a roller coaster. But the first time I went up with him, he cut the engine and did something called a hammerhead, where when you cut the engine, it's just
pull out of it. You
hear the wind, and then it starts, descending. But then the speed of it, that's when you go up and go upside down and all this other crap. But I thought my dad had a heart attack, and I was like, Dad,
oh gosh,
do I have to land this? I mean, bro, where'd the engine go? I was like, hello? And my dad's laughing in the background. Yeah, he did not have a heart attack. He was just doing aerobatics. So not only did he get a pilot's license, he learned how to do aerobatics. I'm like, what are you, Snoopy? What is this?
I wonder if there's like something with, because I work on the flight line as for my actual Air Force job, but there's I'm one to go for my pilot's license too. And so I'm like, is this for all of us that just always see everybody flying around? Is there something that inherently gets in our DNA that we're like, no, we're gonna learn to fly too, or we're gonna get up there. Watch me.
Yeah. I mean, I am one of those kind of people that's like in the Michaels store, like, ooh, shiny beads, ooh, ribbon. Like, I love everything, and I'm like easily distracted. I don't know that you want me flying a plane, but ooh, no. There's a lot going on, and I don't know if I'm built. There's a certain mind. Engineers are very similarly minded, where I do have attention to detail. I am very neat, and everything has its place in my house. Some people say my house is too clean. I don't know, but I'm not that fastidious that I'm so detail oriented. I don't know. I really respect his ability to fly. And that particular scene illustrated it for me. But I mean, the Mary Jane scene where I say the famous "Face it, Tiger, you've hit the jackpot" line, that was pretty epic, I gotta say.
Because you're one of the premier, everybody, when they think of Spider-Man, it's Mary Jane. And then what does she always call Peter? Tiger. So like, to be able to, I can only imagine, it's one of those moments where it's just like, this is my life.
Yeah. Josh Keaton was such a great Peter Parker. God, he's so good.
It is. Now, I do want to throw it back to Rebels for a second, because ICCC in Nashville is coming up. And you mentioned there is a Rebels reunion. Is this kind of the first one for you guys?
Yes, it is. So yeah, I mean, oh my God, if you hear an explosion, that's just all of us hugging for like, wah, so it's going to be Freddie, Taylor, Tia, Steve Bloom, and Mary Elizabeth McGlynn. And who else is
Getting
there? I think
goosebumps right
that's
now
all.
just listening to this. I'm not gonna lie. Oh
Oh
my
yeah,
God.
dude, it's going to break the internet. I mean, dude, it's going to be next level. And I don't know if they have virtual participation, but boy, that I would go to that. I mean, if they were
Oh,
all getting
100%.
together, I couldn't be there. I would be like, oh, dude, I'm online for that. I want to see this.
Yeah, and it's a good weekend too because it's like over Memorial Day weekend, so it's a
Yeah.
long weekend for people. You
Yeah.
have no excuses. I say as somebody who's not able to make
Yeah.
it to Nashville that weekend, I'm like, you have no excuses. But
Yeah.
that's kind of incredible. Like it's also
Yeah.
probably like, oh wow, like so you guys gonna have panels and all of that kind of going on that weekend?
Yes. Panels, signings, doing a few interviews, I believe. There's a couple of podcasts that have reached out to us who will be there. And I'm excited to go to the Cracker Barrel myself. Kind of a highlight for me.
There's a
I was
lot
going
of
to think of
Lauren and I
road
were
trips
just
as a
in
kid.
Nashville last year, and I took her to a Waffle House for like
My
her
first time
first
at a
time
Waffle House.
ever, and she was like, "Is there organic lemons here?" And I
I
was like,
just wanted
"Lauren,
lemon
it's not
water.
that kind
I
of
was trying.
party."
It didn't
Yeah.
need to be organic. But no, I
Yeah.
love Nashville. I thought it was great. I'd love to go back out there.
Oh,
Unfortunately, we had
100%.
plans that weekend, but
Yeah.
well, doing the reunion, do you guys see other cons in your future? Or is that
Oh
just too
yeah.
difficult to get that? Okay.
No, not at all. No, we're hoping to do that again, all over the place. I just went to the Washington Toy Show with Tia and Taylor, and we had a great weekend. It wasn't all the whole group together. It might be hard to wrangle
Mhm.
all of us at the same time, but my guess is that we're going to start doing different constellations of maybe 3 to 4 of us. Oh, my mom's calling. That's so sweet. Not right now.
I hope so. I'm moving to Virginia, and like within 3 hours, there's the Raleigh, and they have a great Comic-Con. There's Washington D.C. There's Richmond. So
Oh,
I'll tell you
yeah.
straight up, if you get to like GalaxyCon, any of those, I'm obviously going to be there. I'm going to make Lauren a
Oh,
flag
great.
and
Yeah.
drag her
Well, if
along as
ever,
well.
yeah, no, you let me know and we'll figure something out. You have to come and say hi. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. That'd be amazing. And man,
Yeah.
Comic Cons are again, we talked about it. Comic Cons are like my favorite thing to do because it's
Yeah,
just
definitely.
so
Me
much
too.
So
Yeah.
happiness,
fun.
so much
Yeah,
happiness there.
definitely. Yeah. And it feels like 12 days, but it's like 2 or 3.
It
They
is.
are
They're long
exhausting.
days. They are
You're just
very
walking
long
around and they're
days.
exhausting. Yeah, wear comfortable
Yeah.
shoes.
Yes,
But
always.
just the cosplay alone, and I'm sure you're going to get,
Yeah.
more and more Heras probably show up every con that you go to.
Yes. Yeah.
I saw
Paris.
one at Galaxy's Edge the other day. I saw the whole group. Somebody was dressed as Chopper, somebody was Kanan, but they had the thing on their eyes.
I'd love to
They
be
looked
Oh
Chopper.
my.
I
amazing.
love that droid.
How fun. That's awesome, dude. That's
Yeah.
great. Very cool.
Love that.
It's like
Now,
the one day Disney doesn't care if you dress up because you're not supposed to dress up if you're over 12. But I feel like on May the 4th, I mean, it's
Oh, yeah.
cosplay galore there.
Let's
what are you gonna
go.
stop
Yeah.
us all? It's that
Yeah.
moment.
We all have lightsabers. Nobody's coming
I love
for
it.
us.
Those poor Disney
That's
people
so
never
funny.
stood a chance.
That's hilarious.
Now, Lauren, do you have any other questions before we wrap up here in a few minutes?
I think the last question I have really is about the finale of Rebels. So this would be a good question to just tie it up. With watching, I mean, I actually rewatched the finale today, and it's just such a beautiful ending. And
Yeah.
they tie up so many things, but they also leave so many things open. So
Yeah.
when that ended, did you feel that Hera's story had been told, or did you have any idea that maybe we would hear more about her and her travels, or even Jason's future?
Oh my gosh. Well, I first of all had no idea that she had a child. So when that occurred, I was like, wait, was anyone going to let me know?
Those have been nice to know. We've been doing this for just a few seasons
I was like,
now.
You really caught me off guard here, guys. I couldn't believe it. I had a million questions, a million. And I was like, Dave, you've got this. Cannot. I mean, where is Ezra? What is happening? Like, what? And he said, don't worry. Don't worry. And it's like at some point, I don't know where, I do a terrible Dave Filoni, but he seemed to suggest that somewhere down the line, whether it was a comic book or a novel or something, that we would have all those questions answered. And I'm very happy to see that it's going to be content on Disney Plus. I cannot wait to see it. And Mary Elizabeth Winstead is an actress I have admired and loved. I loved her work in Fargo. I just think she is just effortlessly cool. And I compare her to mega stars like Sigourney Weaver or Gina Davis. There are just certain women who have an inner strength that they don't even need to say anything, and they command the space. And in Fargo, I wanted to watch her forever and ever. I never wanted that show to ever end. And I mean, when I found out that she's playing Hera, I was like, oh, we're good. Like,
she's in good hands.
I was like, she's going to kill it. I'm so excited. I can't wait. I never for one second had any doubt. I was like, let's go.
She's walking with the notepad of like, all right, this is what I'm going to tell the Hera actress. This is the things that she needs to know. And then you found out, you're like, okay, never mind. Like,
right.
Oh, no,
gotta pass the baby off.
I didn't, I mean, I wasn't sure who, I mean, my biggest fear is that they would get someone who doesn't love Star Wars as much as I do. Right. And I don't even care if Mary Elizabeth Winstead has ever seen a Star Wars movie in her life. Who she is as a person is sufficient for her to, obviously she married Obi-Wan Kenobi. I'm sure she's heard of a few things.
She's what's Star Wars? She's sitting there like, are you going through this again?
Yeah, no, but my biggest fear is that maybe it would be some big celebrity who just doesn't care. And that would break my heart. And of course they would never do that. But that was my only like, oh, please just let it be someone who cares. Let it be someone who really, really cares. Because I really care.
Absolutely.
And I'm pretty sure that Mary Elizabeth cares. Come on, dude. She's married to Obi-Wan. I was like, bada bing, we're good, guys.
Bing, yeah.
Like literally hit the lottery right there.
Yeah, yes. Dude, 100%. I was like, oh, I am so excited. And I know at Celebration in Anaheim last year, when Dave was talking about it, and this moved me. Sorry. He said no one is more excited than Vanessa Marshall. And everyone stood up and cheered. And it made me feel so a part of and appreciated. And I realized I didn't get to portray her on camera, but it meant the world to me that
you're still like, you are her. You are,
my
Hera
Star Wars
Syndulla.
family. Yeah, my Star Wars family is my Star Wars family. And when I go to Celebration, it's like each and every person, I could give them the biggest hug in the whole world. And
it's so nice that you care about her as much as we do, though, because you don't always get the actors, whether it's voice actors or on screen, that, you hear some interviews with some people in the MCU and they know nothing. So to hear somebody be so passionate about their character and just the universe in whole, it means you get it like we get it because you're a fan too. And that's so nice.
And when I heard that, and Dave didn't tell me that, but my friend who was there said, just so you know, this is what happened. And I was like, you know what? I'm good. Yeah.
It's one of those, like, if I died right now moments. It's like that.
I was like, moment I was there and I felt the love and I send it all right back. And I'm excited to watch this with everybody else. And we're going to, just keep eating up that Star Wars lore. And it's like, it's just the best time to be a Star Wars fan. And it
really is. Yeah.
There was a point where we didn't know we were going to ever get another piece of Star Wars content. Like after Return of the Jedi, that was it, maybe. And then we got Revenge of the Sith and we're like, okay, that's all the Star Wars we're getting. And then here we are, we're getting amazing.
Zeb? What about Zeb and the Mandalorian? I jumped off my couch. He looked amazing. He looked.
I screamed, dude. It was so late on a Thursday night, and I screamed so loud that I'm fairly certain my neighbors. And by the way, my neighbor down that way is Ludwig, the guy who does the music. And so he's probably like,
he's like, I heard you.
What the heck is wrong with you?
It's like you finally got to that point.
Yeah. Right? It's Zeb.
I got so excited it was him, and then he just looked. They did an amazing job.
Like, it was brilliant. Yeah,
best CGI I've ever seen.
talk about fangirl flailing, like, yeah, I was very happy.
It's
Yeah.
just, it is truly incredible. And just to see all the addition, because there's always those things you're like, man, I wish this story would get told, man. Well, guess what? You're
They're
getting it, and
coming.
you're
I'm
fleshing
so
this out,
excited.
and we're
I
getting
can't
these
wait.
amazing pieces, whether it's animated. I implore everybody, like, if you love Star Wars and you have not watched the animated stuff, it's not like a lot of people I hear is like, oh, it's for kids. No, it's for Star Wars is for
Yeah.
every person. I don't care how
Mhm.
old or how young.
Yeah.
It is
It
for
was really,
everyone.
yeah, Rebels was very adult, I felt.
Yeah.
It was,
And there's some jokes that would
Oh,
definitely go over some kids' heads in
being
Rebels.
appropriate,
you
like,
get them
or
in Shrek, even it's okay.
Well,
yeah,
yeah.
All those kids movies, they make those jokes, and
yeah,
the kids have no idea. But us
Mhm.
parents, us adults, we do.
yeah. Well, anyway, yeah, thank you guys so much. And
Well,
Absolutely.
thank you.
yeah, once again, if you guys want to come to the Metal Gear Solid Con, I'll look for you virtually, and we can have a moment. And then if I'm down in Orlando for anything, I know next year there are going to be a lot of Rebels appearances with us as a group. They're kind of setting it all up for all next year. So hopefully we'll be in the same area, and if so, let's like coordinate.
Yes, if you happen
100%,
to
yeah.
be going to Orlando, I will find my way there. If you happen to be
Okay, all right. Well,
anywhere in like a
yeah,
5-hour radius in like the Virginia, North Carolina area, like
oh,
seriously, let us
totally.
know.
Yeah.
We will get there. Would love to connect in person, and you've been amazing. Thank you so much for
Oh, thank you.
taking
Yeah, and if
time out.
people can find me in Nashville, if anyone's in Nashville,
Yes.
come say hi if you're listening to this. And for updates about other esports stuff, you can follow me at Vanessa Marshall 1138 on Instagram. That's also my Twitch handle at Vanessa Marshall 1138, and then on Twitter at Van Marshall. And I'll post updates. There's a fan page on Facebook as well that's linked to my Instagram with updates and stuff like that. So hopefully we'll all stay connected. That'd be great.
Yes, we'll post the links in our in the bio of this, but of course
Oh,
we're
awesome.
on Twitter. We've been, obviously that's us. I run the Twitter. Lauren runs the Instagram. So if you ever on
Oh,
there, that's one of us. And yeah, thank you so
perfect.
much, everybody. Vanessa Marshall, thank you for hanging out with us. We will
Thank
talk to
you.
you
Thank you for
all
having me.
soon. Yeah.
Thank you.
Cheers, everybody. Where's the